Firstly, I want to compliment the Money Life Foundation for organizing this, not only organizing this, for relentlessly taking up issues of the accountability of financial institutions in this country. As many of you would know, the right to information was held by the Supreme Court to be a fundamental right, part of the right uh, guaranteed under Article 19 as well as under Article 21. The Supreme Court in that Raj Narayan and thereafter in S.P. Gupta, thereafter in the ADR case, PUCL cases, etc., and a whole string of cases held that uh, in a democracy, the people are the sovereign and the public servants and public institutions only function uh, for their sake, for their benefit, at their behest. And therefore, the people who are the real masters ought to know everything that their public servants and their public officials are doing in every detail. And there are only very few things which could be hidden from the public. For example, operational details of war planning, etc., during a war going on. But other than that, everything should be known and made available to the people. It was pursuant to this understanding about democracy and about the people having a right to know about public officials that the Right to Information Act was formulated. And the Right to Information Act is one of the best and the most powerful RTI acts in the world that India has. It was formulated after a great deal of discussion and debate. And there are, of course, certain exemptions which have been set out where public authorities can refuse to give information. They have all been set out in Section 8. And among them are two in particular which are relevant in the context of information relating to banks. One is uh, what the Reserve Bank had argued when the main case was heard and then decided. They had argued that this information from the banks, uh, which is given to the Reserve Bank, is given to them in a fiduciary capacity, that is, in a capacity of trust. And since that is one of the exemptions available under the RTI Act, therefore it cannot be given on that ground. The other ground taken was that a lot of it could be private information of various clients or depositors in the bank, and therefore privacy, which is another exemption, will also prevent the disclosure of this kind of information. The Supreme Court in that judgment rejected both these grounds and held that they pointed out that there are a number of bank scams going on, that the banks are dealing with public money, that the Reserve Bank is a regulatory body and authority under the law. It has a right under the law to collect information and seek information and inspect various banks, etc. And therefore, the information that the banks give to the Reserve Bank uh, uh, by virtue of the right of the Reserve Bank to seek information or inspect them is not given to the Reserve Bank in a fiduciary capacity, which is a capacity like a client gives information to his lawyer or a patient gives information to his doctor, which is a purely voluntary thing which is supposed to be given in confidence or in trust. But that's not the capacity in which banks are furnishing information to the Reserve Bank. They have to do it. They have an obligation under the law by virtue of the regulatory powers of the Reserve Bank. And therefore, this argument was squarely rejected. Then there was this argument of privacy, etc., that it may contain some private information. Firstly, you see, information about bank defaulters. Now, if people have borrowed public money from the banks and thereafter defaulted about that, then information about their defaults, about the loans that they had taken, etc., cannot be said to be private information which can be exempted under the RTI Act, because the exemption for privacy says private information or personal information which has no connection with public activity or public interest. And there also there is a public interest override, which says that if the Information Commission feels that the public interest in disclosure outweighs the public interest of privacy, then the information can still be disclosed. So therefore, firstly, a large category of this personal information of defaulters, etc., there is a public interest override. It certainly has a connection with public interest and public activity, and there is a public interest override available also. So therefore, that information cannot be withheld. And then the court said that if there is some other information which is in these reports or this information that you are seeking from the Reserve Bank about these banks, which relate to purely personal information of clients, etc., it can always be excised. Now, as Sucheta pointed out, they are excising all kinds of information from the reports, which clearly is not personal information of individual clients, etc. They are excising all kinds of information. But yet, unfortunately, so what happened was that after this judgment, where they rejected all these arguments and directed the banks to disclose. Actually, the first order was made by the Information Commission when Mr. Shailesh Gandhi was there in the Information Commission, ordering the Reserve Bank to disclose all this information. There were 10 orders made. All of them went up in appeal to the Supreme Court. All of them were consolidated and heard together, and thereafter disposed of by common order, in which they upheld the order of the Information Commission. Now, and ordered the Reserve Bank to give all this information regarding defaulters, regarding inspection reports, etc., from which the Reserve Bank had prepared regarding the banks. After this judgment, the Reserve Bank issued some circular to kind of get around this judgment by saying that banks are not obliged to give A, B, C, D kind of information, which clearly violated the orders of the Supreme Court. Then we went to the Supreme Court in contempt. And in that contempt order, they said that, yes, this clearly violates the orders of the Supreme Court. You were told, the Reserve Bank was told that you have to furnish this information. Now you can't override this judgment by saying that the banks should not furnish this information, etc., or that the Reserve Bank should not furnish this information, which the Supreme Court has ordered should be furnished. So that judgment also came. Till this time, these individual banks did not intervene. All this was happening in full public glare. It was being reported. The original hearings, which went on in the Supreme Court, were being reported in the media also. The banks were fully aware of these hearings. They did not intervene at that stage. Thereafter, when the contempt matter was taken up, again it happened over a period of time in full public glare. The banks again did not intervene. Thereafter, after the contempt judgment, the bank started approaching the Supreme Court, saying that by means of miscellaneous applications in that decided case, saying that we were not heard, and therefore, that this is all fiduciary information, that this is private information, and therefore it should not be given. And they, without even impleading all the people who had sought this information and in whose favor the Supreme Court had decided, without impleading any of those people, they obtained an ex parte stay order from the Supreme Court. And then we approached the Supreme Court and said that, look, that these miscellaneous applications are really disguised review petitions being filed by the banks. And they can't be heard because there are Supreme Court rules which say that you cannot circumvent the rules regarding review by filing a miscellaneous application in a decided case instead of filing a regular review, because review goes in chambers, it has to be first heard in chamber. Thereafter, if the court decides to hear it in court, then it comes up in court and so on. And in any case, these are highly related. So uh, uh, that hearing was done about 3-4 weeks ago, and the court has reserved judgment, and we hope and expect that they will dismiss all these miscellaneous applications or the writ petitions which were filed by various banks to challenge that judgment. Of course, the banks are still going to file probably review petitions with applications for condonation of delay. So it's quite shameful that, and they were arguing this despite the fact, as Sucheta told me this morning, that despite the fact that the Reserve Bank had already excised all personal information from the inspection reports which were given out, yet in the Supreme Court, Mr. Harish Salve was appearing for some of the banks, was arguing that, look, inspection reports may contain personal information about individual clients, etc., and therefore it will violate their privacy and so on. So that's where this matter stands. So I'll stop here and ask others now to take over. Shailesh will be able to shed a lot more light around about all this. We have been hearing very deep-rooted problems from various people. At one level, we find that banks are complicit with various large corporate borrowers and are allowing them to loot money. This is one problem. The other problem is that the Reserve Bank is not doing its job of regulating these banks or inspecting them properly or doing any follow-up, etc. Then the third problem is that, of course, the sufferer in all this are the people of this country who are the owners of this money and who are being cheated and looted in this process. But what do? They don't get any information about it. So now they try through RTI. Some people try through RTI. As we have seen, it's an uphill battle. Even in those very few and far between cases when they obtain a successful order, a favorable order from the Supreme Court, even then, getting that order implemented is an uphill battle. Even when you get the inspection reports, other than a few organizations and people like Money Life Foundation and a few other public-spirited people, by and large, financial journalists are not interested in analyzing it or highlighting it or exposing it, etc. And even now, the last problem, that even if it is exposed, that look, these are the misdemeanors or the corrupt practices of this bank, as we are seeing in the case of Sterling Biotech, etc. What do you do to set it right? What do you do to seek accountability for those officials of that bank which have colluded with those corporate borrowers, etc.? And well, one thing that one can do is to take the matter to court. But today, what we are seeing is that in the courts, we face an uphill battle, because on the one side are the banks and the corporates which are together. On the other side are these sort of RTI activists or people who move the courts. And it's a uphill, very, very difficult battle. And the courts are also not very responsive. So we are faced with a very, very difficult and serious situation in this country, in this whole banking sector as well. And unless we can get more people aroused, unless we can get some kind of a organized movement going around this sector of banking and uh, uh, Reserve Bank, banking, corporate borrowing, etc. I think what we need is to to set up a group of really engaged and concerned individuals who take up these issues at various levels, including seeking information, taking the matter to court for seeking accountability, etc., raising public outcry about it. All that will have to be done. But yes, I understand that it is a very difficult battle given the kind of moral climate that we are seeing in this country, and which is why the looters are getting away.
That's a very depressing picture, Prashantji. And I think what Devashish reminded me just now is what about this case that goes up, that has been filed already. I think unless we have Subhash Agarwal ji and Girish Mittal and others coming forward, even if you want to fight it, you need litigants to take it up and challenge it. Is it something that we will be doing? Can we look forward to you taking this up?
Yes, yes, I am happy to take up any, not only RTI case, but any financial scam which comes out and which needs to be taken to court for investigation, accountability, etc. I'm happy to take up that case. But as I said, these days the response and the attitude of the courts, especially the Supreme Court, is also not very good. So it is a uphill battle there also. But I am happy to do that. We have to continue making our effort. Only then, as my professor at Princeton used to say, when the going looks bad, you have to hang in out there and keep chipping away because you never know when the tide will turn. And if you give up, then of course everything is lost. So it's a difficult time for all of us in every sector, including the banking people like Sucheta, the Money Life Foundation, etc., who are concerned about the financial sector, who are highlighting the problems with it, who are seeking accountability. It's a difficult time, but we need to still continue doing our bit. We need to hang in there and chipping away and hope that eventually the tide will turn.
Thank you so much,